Yeah, this is Chris Overstreet, the Redneck Gaijin, and I am not at SpaCon because yesterday morning, the right front brake caliper on my van decided to lose one of its bolts and wedge the wheel. So I was stopped less than halfway to my destination, had to get a tow truck to take me back home. So here I am, no show this weekend, so we're going to do a stream this weekend. And instead of continuing the Zelda thing, which I think will be Monday evening, we're going to do a special Kerbal space program tonight. Tonight, you may remember that the last time we played Kerbal space program, we brought up the Rover Rally, re-recorded that, and posted that on YouTube. Well, I've decided to take the most recent vehicle from that, the Formula K car. This thing has enough thrust to fly. I don't think it's got the control. I specifically designed it not to have the control. But we might be about to see. No, it's actually holding up. We're going hell-bent for leather here. Ah, there we go. Now we're airborne. Okay, what we're going to do now is we are going to try to turn this thing back towards base very carefully, because this was not designed to fly, that's a fact. Controlled descent, that's the name of the game here, if at all possible. It's very unstable in flight and very difficult to fly indeed. Come on, settle down. Settle down. Settle, 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 settle. Okay, the answer is no, I can't land it safely. Not without a lot more help, anyway. And we're going to actually use it as a rover, which means sending it to another planet, or in this case, to Laythe, one of the moons of Jool. The reason I picked Laythe was because Laythe is the only moon that's got an atmosphere that will allow a jet engine to work there. So instead of having to rebuild the Formula K from scratch, I can just send it as is, and it should be able to fly in the Laythe atmosphere. We'll see. I've made a couple of changes in the rover. For one thing, I've taken away the seat because we were not sending a Kerbal up on this idiotic mission. Instead, we put in an antenna and a couple of other antennas. We're going to send this thing up when it finally goes with orbital relay satellites that will let us control this thing. At least in theory. We'll see. Yeah. And also, since Laythe is out orbiting Jool out system, I've taken away the solar panels that were on the rear wing, and instead we've attached a couple of RTGs on the back end of this thing. Now this is going to make this a little bit rear heavy, I think. Let's go ahead and take this from here down for a moment. And center of mass is, center of mass is well back. That's not ideal, but I don't want to add any more mass to this, and I can't really put those RTGs anyplace else. And I've also added a couple of parachutes to help with the final descent. Of course, we will have to use the jet engine because Laythe has oceans. And putting this thing down on ocean would obviously be, well, mission over. Now, this is only the test rocket. We're going to take this up to Kerbin orbit and back down and make sure the re-entry system works. Then, and only then, will we take it to Laythe. right. And we're sending this thing to Kerbin orbit in 3, 2, 1, fire. Alright, periapsis of 30, that will do well enough. Now, one problem is this is still using the ordinary Rover probe core. So as a result, I'm going to have to bring this down manually. I don't have hold retrograde option. I may have to add a probe core to the re-entry system to make sure this thing comes down all right. Although it looks like this system is actually a bit more robust than I'd anticipated. Yeah, we've slowed down below burn-up velocities. That's a good thing. Now what I want to do is slow down enough to where I can dump the heat stage and pull the and pop the parachute. I just hope we'll be allowed to do that. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I can actually go ahead and cut this parachute and light up the engines. And this bit is kind of important. This might end up being a really short stream if we don't get some movement that isn't down. I can't nose this thing down. It's too ass heavy. I think we might be sunk, literally. We're almost... Fuck. Nose down and stay down, damn it. Okay, that might help a little bit. Alright, the thing is too ass heavy. I can't control it. So, revert back to vehicle assembly. We're going to have to do something different with those RTGs. There is, by the way, an adage in aircraft design. A nose-heavy plane flies poorly. A tail-heavy plane flies once. And what we had was a tail-heavy plane. Okay, that appears to do better. Right. Let's try this again and see if this steers any better. Okay, we're going to want to set down on one of those islands as a proof of concept. All right. I should have set this thing to open sooner. This is still really extremely unstable. it's not as heavy as it was. Still bad, though. Still very bad. Every time it gets close to a horizontal vector, it gets unstable, and I can't hold it. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Yeah. That didn't go... Of all things, the wheels survived. Alright, revert to vehicle assembly. I didn't want to do this, but it looks like we're going to have to put some control surfaces on the wings. And what I want to know right now is why the hell is this one sticking way the hell out here? Where the hell do you think the root part is on this wing? Okay, new root part. Let's make the wing itself root for a moment. And that didn't fix a goddamn thing. Alright, so I'm going to have to do this one at a time. Now that is no longer a Formula One car by any stretch of the imagination. But it's what we've got. Okay. Come on, nose up. Nose up. Why do you not nose up? Okay, emergency parachutes at least I've got. You don't nose up because I forgot to put you like that, yeah. Okay, so the good news is the parachutes do seem to work as intended. The bad news is, as I said, this thing is now very, very tail heavy, and I risk losing pretty much the back half of the rover if I let this thing come down the way it wants to. Okay, but now it has come down. Whoa, not so... I forgot to turn off time warp. That's another problem. All right. Let us descend a little bit more. This time we'll hold on steady up. And Pop, shoot. There we go. There we go. All right. I've got the stick pulled back as hard as I can. There's the pitch readout in case you can see it, and we're not nosing up. We are emphatically not nosing up. In fact, we're nosing down. Okay, that levels us, well, that will level us off, or let us level. In theory, it will level us off. Okay. Alright, is this going to be enough for control? No, pretty much immediately we nose down, and that's it. Kerplunk. Okay, we've tried, and we cannot make this thing fly in atmosphere reliably. We're still going to lathe. We're still going to lathe, mind you. But we can't count on the flight capacity of this rover to actually help us out at all. So let's reopen this launcher without the modifications. As is. This is what is going to lathe. All right. Now we need to build a vehicle that can actually get to lathe. TWR on launch is still 150. That's fine. I mean 1.5. Okay, we dump the supplemental fuel tanks with their mini boosters. That gets us more lift. Then these get... Okay, that's got to go way the hell up here someplace. Thank you. Okay, then that's copacetic. That's nice, good. Then this comes down here. Then we've got ditch the engine for final re-entry. Then ditch the heat shield, light up the jet engine for whatever good it does. And then all the parachutes for the final landing. All right, we're taking this thing to space. In 3, 2, 1, fire. there's supposed to be a new tool that lets you set up your best window, but I don't know where it is or how to use it. Maneuver tool, here we go. Is this really going to be that easy? Apparently so, and it's apparently fairly cheap. Already out past Duna. Okay, that's the line for the orbit of Dres. Ooh, and that's not a good sign right there. That is not at all a good sign. That is exactly what I had hoped not to see. That is too fucking low. We're not going to have control of this thing by the time it gets out to Jool. Wait a second, the signal strength is coming back up. And it's probably going to die back down again. Yeah, that was closest passive Kerbin. Okay, so yeah, this is still not looking good. Okay, there, 1%. There is connection lost. This is with, as I said, all the antennas together. Once I detach these things, one antenna, even on the relay satellites, is not going to do it. Okay, with all the antennas put together, we just barely have connection at the moment. Okay, there's Jool. This is us coming into Jool. There's where we wanted to go. We currently have a 2% control signal. But let's see how close we get anyway. Alright. Does that still get us a lathe encounter without any adjustments? It does. In 5 days. Oh, will we have the strength to do it? Okay, I think that's Tylo there. If I can get this into lathe orbit, we can wait for Kerbin to come around again before we try anything else, but... And it took a lot of Delta V to get that. 2, 1, fire. And now we're on the Wimpy Wolfhound here. TWR of 0.9. We've still just barely got a connection to Kerbin. And this is getting us eventually a polar orbit around Laythe. And you see how very few landmasses there are on that thing. Getting a rover down onto that is going to be tricky as shit. Surface gravity is 0.8 Gs. So, not going to be much lighter than Kerbin. Atmosphere goes up to 50 kilometers and is only slightly more than half the pressure of Kerbin, so that's going to be Really difficult to fly in anyway, isn't it? Okay. Then we get back to about here and circularize to just hug the low orbit of Laythe and pray for a damn miracle, because we're going to need it to find substantial land here, aren't we? Oh, and just in time, we have no connection home now. That's that until and unless we get a bit more luck. Okay, there's Kerbin. There's the Jool system there. And we get intermittent signal. 17%. That's just not good enough. And what happens when we eject one of these relay sats? %. Okay. Could still revert. Let's dump the other one. And for a miracle, we still have just enough of a connection. Okay, maybe this will work. It's still only 1%, but it's 1% more than I thought I was going to have. That ugly-looking island there, it might be my best bet. And now we're using a bunch of excess thrust to curve the orbit as much as possible to give us the maximum possible chance of hitting land with this fucker. Brakes are on, so this thing should, if it can stay stopped, it will stay stopped. And landing. Yep, we're down. We are on the surface. We've got no control, no nothing at the moment, but we are on the surface. Wait for the satellites to come back around Laythe. And we'll have a few minutes of operations at least. So first thing we do is the science. The fine particulate sand of Laythe blows into the sample bay. Goody. Close doors. Observe mystery goo. Yeah, no surprises there. Gravioli. Recording the influence of Jool. Yeah. Seismic data. Tidal forces. Yeah, who would have ever thought that something orbiting a gas giant would have tidal forces? Temperature scan, yes, there is temperature. Pressure data, a bit below that of Kerbin, but definitely at a manageable level. Ready for you. Okay, science is done. And it does drive.